Let's see who responds to this video and calls me a false prophet. But here's the thing, I'm all about truth. And I was in front of I watched like a 4-hour documentary on it. Oh, listen to it. I don't care if the earth is flat, because if the earth is flat, we can be able to prove it. And the naysayers like the guy I wanted to debate with me, shut up. But that's not flat. And the Bible, let's see if the Bible says it's flat. Because those verses, let's see. I think those verses that people say the earth is flat are misinterpreted. And so I don't gotta go through all these verses saying the earth is flat. You know, I don't already got a video going for some verses on my laptop. But, so I'm gonna go through the verses. I'm gonna play a video from somebody who I do not support, who does teach a false, salvation. And you probably already know him. I already know him, you'd already know. I'm gonna play. But, first I want to debunk a video, supposedly debunking his video. Because, this flat earth thing is used against the Bible. And if the earth isn't flat, these verses must be debunked. And that's what we're doing in this video. We're going to debunk the flat earth. Well, one point. So please, if you believe the earth is flat, hold on, turn on my laptop. Amount of level and height, it can look flat. So it doesn't explain flat earth. But, hold on. Do I have a lack of scientific information for this video? Yeah. But I think that I'm still going to address this topic biblically. And then I will come back. If the Lord gives me wisdom, I'll do it in this video. Or I'll come back. Just because this topic must be addressed. So, the scientific evidence. The scientific evidence that the earth is flat doesn't really matter if the Bible doesn't say it's flat. But then they're gonna say it actually does matter because if the earth was flat and the Bible didn't say it was flat, they could say the Bible was false. So either way, we gotta debunk this. Both scientifically, each way. Okay. One point is they say, well, if you move far away, so and so disappears. all that can be explained. The question is the Earth a globe? That's my question. But I'm telling you, it's not flat. That's what I'm telling you. It's not flat. That's for sure. But I want to. Hey, quit it. Quit.
Where do you have all the dogs? Where's the dog?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna use him. Don't do any facts because he does teach some truth. You gotta learn how to have discernment. Now, people that are not well versed in the Bible, I wouldn't send you to Stephen Anderson, but I'm able to listen to him. I was deceived before into one of his doctrines. It wasn't that bad. It was just like I denied a biblical truth, and then I came out of it. It wasn't like subject. It wasn't like easy Buddhism. I never learned that. But yeah, I'm gonna use Steven Anderson. Before I use him, I'm going to try to let's debunk a video, use it against his video. We'll get that out of the way. You can learn some Bible from Steven Anderson, as in some Bible verses. So like, he's somebody bad to listen to. You can pick up a spirit from him, like a spirit of meanness or something like that. But okay.
Easter eggs and bunnies on Easter. Like, come on. National Independence Day. Back to school. Halloween. Remembrance Day. Every month there's something that they want you. Every month there's something that
in vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. What does that have to do with the flat earth?
False prophets. Science. Man has never been to the moon. It's all fake. That is clearly enough evidence for me. Every month there's something that the government wants you to spend your money on and celebrate in their traditions that do not reflect Christ.
I know all these pagan days that celebrate pagan gods, witchcraft, so you power witchcraft on a witchcraft day. I know about that. Listen, the man never been to the moon. Possibly, I've seen evidence against that. I've seen evidence that at least they've been to the moon one time. But the Apollo, I would say it's, but I'd say they probably, if they've been to the moon, they've been to it. They didn't, there was,
At all. Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter eggs and bunnies on Easter. Like, come on. National Independence Day, back to school, Halloween, Remembrance Day. Every month is something that they want you to traditionalize. Wake up! Time to wake up now! Go look outside. You know, the Statue of Liberty is visual from 60 miles away. However, science says that, you know, the tower is only this high. It's only this high. 360 feet. But based on man's science and technology, if you can see the Statue of Liberty from 60 miles away, well, that's impossible because that means there's 2,000 feet of curvature that's hiding the Statue of Liberty that's only 300 feet, 360 feet tall. Wake up! Wake up! You know, it's a lot easier to fool someone than it is to convince somebody they have been fooled. Alright, this is your wake-up call. Don't forget to hit that sign-up button. Your support counts. Thanks for watching. Come back soon.
Again, there's nothing new under the sun. My question is, why isn't your pastors or priests sharing these truths with you? Because this has been known for a long time. You know, I always wondered, why didn't they call our space program the United States Space Program? Doesn't that have a nice ring to it? United States Space Program. But they called it NASA. And it's just interesting that it means to take up. Well, it also means to bring up, go up, carried up, brought up. And we'll see what we find here in 1 Chronicles 13. This whole chapter is about them carrying up the Ark of God. And so we find that works throughout all the scripture there. Now, here's one, you know, and this is getting back to your question earlier. Now, the Hebrew word for took up, which is NASA, means to bring up, went up, carry up, take up, took, to go up. This also has a negative connotation to lead astray, mentally delude, morally seduce, beguile, deceive greatly. It's interesting that the word NASA means that. The question is, are you saved? Let's talk about the gospel of Christ. The gospel that saves us today is in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I declare unto you the gospel meaning good news, which I preached unto you, which also you have received and wherein you stand. Verse 2, by which...
We got dispensationalists in the house. Let me cover this one thing now. I want you guys to watch this video. You gotta hear what I'm about to say. And Brian Denlinger says the point that he uses that we have another gospel during the tribulation is that it has an element of looks, not taking the mark of the beast. No, not taking the mark of the beast is the element of loving God, testing you whether you're abiding in Christ or not, testing your faith, your trust in Christ and His promises, rather than test your love, test your genuineness. So no, it doesn't have an element of works. Time of testing. Is testing work? No. God testing you. The devil's testing you and God's using him.
Also yours.
And
So this gospel that Paul's getting ready to tell these individuals, he says they're saved by it. Verse 3, for I delivered unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the third day according to the scriptures.
That's not good enough one. Listen, the death is to...
He died for all your sins, past, present, alive. So how many of our sins were still future at that time?
That's stupid. He preached a false gospel.
All of them. Every single sin that we committed in this life was still future for Christ. And yet he died for those sins. He paid for those sins over 2,000 years ago. And if you believe that,
What is that in the Bible? He died for all sins in which you would commit. But say he died for past, present, future sins. That's not in the Bible.
that you can say,
The way things look and the way things are very different.
I would say to you, hey, quit it. Sit. Okay, who's watching? Here, okay. If you go high off the ground, a thing can look flat according to where you are. It doesn't mean if it's flat, it just means it's basically the point of visual you're at. Or how a point of physics, how if you go high enough on a sphere, the sphere can look flat. I want to go to Kent. I know, but Kenthoven flat Earth.
hello, folks. My name is Ken Hovind, sitting by Edric. Been working on a ministry for a while. We're going to discuss the topic of the flat Earth. Is the Earth round or is it flat? This research, this recent resurgence of the flat Earth teaching is, I'm not aware of it until the last couple of years. Has it been around for a long time?
2012 is when it started. 2014 is really when it started gaining traction.
Okay. So it's a relatively new phenomenon that people are re-teaching that the Earth is flat. Who's right? So, Edric, I got so many questions on this on my YouTube channel, Kent Hovind Official. I finally said I'm not going to answer any more questions. I believe sincerely the Earth is round. Now, I do appreciate those who take the flat Earth position because I think they're really sincerely trying to defend what they think the Bible teaches. I appreciate that in anybody. Defend your faith. But this is like Romans 10:1. This is a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. So you don't have to say, I think you're...
People are zealous for God. But not according to the truth, not according to who God is, or to what can be known about God.
The Earth is flat because the Bible teaches the Earth is flat. I don't believe any such thing. So I asked Edric, a couple months ago, I was getting so many questions on my YouTube channel. Edric, would you just do the research, fix this, put together a presentation? So you're going to share with us what you have gathered on this topic of, is the Earth a ball? What is the shape of the Earth? And then you can tell us at the end what you think your research leads to. To introduce yourself, tell them who you are from South Africa and all that stuff, and how you heard about our ministry.
All right, so I was born and raised in South Africa, lived there till I was 10. In 2000, my family decided to move to the States, and then in 2004, my youth pastor played some of Dr. Owen's videos, and fell in love with him, fell in love with the ministry, and when I basically came up here on his homecoming thing and said, "Hey, brother, if you need someone," and I told him my skill sets, and he said, "Yeah, I'll call you in a few months." And so in December of 2014, I gave me a call, and I moved up here, and been enjoying it ever since.
2015.
2015, yeah, December 2015. And then probably end of January, he started getting so many questions about the flat Earth, and I was like, well, let me see if I can do some research on it and see if there's anything to it. I was introduced to the flat Earth thing in November of 2015. My brother walked up to me and said, "Hey, Andrew, have you seen the flat Earth arguments? They're pretty good." And I was like, "Come on, Rico, they can't be good." And I think that's how everybody starts. Is just like, this is ridiculous. And then when you hear their arguments, you find out, wow, they actually do have some good sounding arguments. And so I told Dr. Owen, I was like, "Hey, let me look into it, see if there is anything to this." And he said, "Go ahead, do whatever you need to do." And so I went into it with a complete open mind, saying, "Look, if the Earth is the shape of a pizza slice, I want to believe if the scientific facts that there are." And the one experiment that I did after another, after just doing mental experiments, if you would, I came to sincerely believe that the Earth has curvature, and though I can't prove that it is a complete ball, I think that experiments can be done, and I think there are models. The model that works best is the round Earth model, more so than the flat Earth model. I think there are definitely things that completely just show that the flat Earth model cannot work.
It is surprising how many people are teaching this now. I think they're really sincerely thinking they're defending the Bible.
Yeah.
But it's Romans 10:1. They have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. You're fighting the wrong battle. Okay, I'm convinced the Earth is round. It's about 25,000 miles around, and it spins on its axis, and it's not the center of the solar system. It might be the center of God's attention, and this is the only place where life is, because He's the mother of all living. But it is a ball. It spins. It's at an angle, and it goes around
In the
sun.
physical realm.
I don't believe in the geocentric theory, and I don't believe in the stationary Earth theory or the flat Earth theory. So I get questions all the time on the YouTube channel. Finally, I said, "Edric, would you put together a presentation?" So that's what this is going to be.
Or
You
all
said
living
you believe
normally
the Earth is
equated
round,
on
and I
Earth.
agree with you.
I guess there's no aliens in
Right.
them.
So the first thing is just we'll just go through my PowerPoint that I did, just to basically put my thoughts together. Basically, I'm going to have two main arguments. My first one is that there's no good evidence to think that the Earth is flat. My second one is that there is good evidence to think the Earth is a sphere. And then to defend my first contention, I have four basic arguments to defend that. Four basic arguments that flat earthers use to defend that the Earth is flat. Since I didn't have anybody to be my opponent, if you would, I just picked four random ones that I commonly run into with people calling the ministry and asking questions. So the first one is that Earth always rises to the eye level of the observer. The second one is...
What do you mean by that one? Explain that.
I'll explain it more here in a second. These are just going to be my four basic arguments, and then their four basic arguments, and then I'll kind of dissect them here in a second. The second one is surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to calculate the curvature of the Earth into their projects. The third one is airplanes always fly straight and never have to adjust for curvature. Otherwise, they would fly off in outer space if they just kept driving.
This is the arguments the flat earthers make.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They're flat Earth arguments. And the fourth one is the Earth spinning at 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. And so now we're just going to look into these four arguments and see if there's anything to it. The Earth always rises to the eye level of the observer. That's just simply not true. What I have here on the picture is it's actually a theodolite app. And you can get it on your phone, and if you fly in an airplane, you can try the app. And basically, you just take your phone, hold it up to the window, and it'll show that there is a distinct difference between the landline and where the eye level would be. being that the Earth is so big, you have to understand how big the Earth is. If the Earth was the size of a 8-foot beach ball, your airplane would be flying at less than 5 centimeters above this beach ball.
5 millimeters.
5 millimeters. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So you're talking. I mean, the International Space Station would be about 2 inches above this 8-foot beach ball if it was drawn all to size.
So 2 inches above. And when I was in prison, we drew a 7-foot circle on the wall. We let every inch be 100 years, 100 miles. And so the crust of the Earth was like this thick on a 84-inch circle.
Yeah.
And so airplanes flying this far above a circle with 8-foot diameter, of course, you're going to appear to be flat.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the first thing you have to keep in mind is on the ball Earth model. That's the size of the model that we have, and so this what we see here is reasonable. That fits the model.
So you're only 5 millimeters above
an 8-foot beach ball.
It's going to appear flat.
It
is.
Of course. Yeah.
To an ant crawling on this, it probably appears flat, even though an ant would be huge by that standard.
It would be. It'd probably be about the size of New York.
Yeah, right. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the second one is surveyors are never required to take into account for their project.
That's an argument that flat earthers make.
Exactly. That's another one of the flat earth arguments. And that is just, I would say, just a lack of knowledge of what surveyors actually do. Because back in the 1800s, this is when they were making maps like this, and where you see the black is actually where they did something called geodesy. And geodesy is basically just mapping out using triangles and trigonometry so that you can figure out, okay, well, this steeple of the church is this far away from the bank, and from the bank across the river is 100 yards, and so we can build a bridge. So they would use theodolites and other plumb bobs and stuff to measure distances. And so they started, basically covering the whole Earth with all of their measurements. And then they ran into a couple things. They realized that if you were to make triangles over 10 to 30 miles, they realized that they got angles that were greater than 180 degrees, which would mean that I forgot the exact word, but I think it's excess triangularity, I think was the word that they used. And basically, when they would measure these long, huge triangles over the Earth, they realized that there was excess angles, like it was more than 180
if they
degrees.
assumed a flat Earth.
If it was a flat Earth, then it should have been exactly 180 degrees if it was a triangle.
Right.
But they were getting more than that.
Example, state of Colorado. The lines on the side are run dead north-south.
Yeah.
But yet Colorado is not a rectangle. It's a trapezoid.
Yeah, that would also fit on the flat Earth model, because it's
going to the North Pole.
It's because it's going to the North Pole. But they were basically just getting their triangles to be greater than 180 degrees, and that only fits on the ball. It does not fit on the flat Earth map, because if it's a flat map, you're going to get a 180 degree triangle.
Well, if you had a rectangle, if Colorado was south of the equator by the flat Earth model,
it would still be.
No, the top would be narrower instead of wider.
Yeah,
because we're tapering towards the South Pole.
Yeah.
So if you picked a square country or a rectangular country south of the equator, it would be upside down.
It would be.
Yeah. So go ahead. Okay.
All right. Well, let's look at the
on the flat Earth model. It wouldn't work.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what the word is. Spherical excess is where they got the more than the 180 degrees. The other thing that that you have to keep in mind is when a surveyor, and this is now talking about modern projects that are huge projects like runways or anything, when a surveyor is using the curvature formula, what they are, in a mile, you have 8 inches of drop. And if you move forward again, you have another 8 inches of drop. So you don't multiply the formula that you use is miles squared. Wait, now I got my numbers all mixed up. But the formula that they use is miles squared times 8, and then you divide it by 12 to get the amount of curvature that you would get. And what a lot of flat Earth videos do is they assume that you start at one point and you never move your surveying equipment forward. As soon as you move your surveying equipment forwards again, you have to restart that calculation on the formula.
So it's going to be multi-sided.
Exactly. Right. And so whenever you're measuring that kind of distance, say you were going to build a 3-mile runway, from one end to the other, there is going to be that little bit of curvature. But the only way you would notice that if you're all the way 3 miles back and you're measuring the entire 3-mile runway. But what they actually do is they break it off into sections, and 8 inches of curvature in a mile is not going to be picked up. If you can use a backhoe and be within 8 inches every mile, you're a really good backhoe engineer. And so the last thing is they commonly, whenever they're using the formula, they always look from the line of sight rather than from the water level or the ground level, because where the formula starts is at ground level, not at eye level, because the higher you go up, the further your curvature formula should start. So if you rise up 8 inches, your curvature formula starts out 1 mile away, and if you rise up 24 inches, it starts out 2 miles away.
Yeah, okay.
So the second one, airplane pilots would have to constantly correct for their altitude. Again, with the flat Earth model, with the round Earth model, we have gravity, which is mass that attracts things. And so, as a plane is flying, as a plane gains a little bit of altitude due to the curvature of the Earth curving downwards, it also gains a tiny amount of potential energy. That energy has to come from somewhere. So the plane slows down a tiny amount, and that makes the lifting force go down. As gravity overcomes the lifting force by a tiny amount, and the plane begins to lose altitude, which makes it gain velocity again, and then the process just starts over and over again. So as they go up, as they lose from the curvature, the plane drops a little bit, and then the whole process just starts over again. And then I do have the formula that they actually used here to come up with that. Now, obviously, it's not drawn to scale, but it's just to give you how they do it, and then the mathematical formula to show how they came up with that. All right, so the Earth spinning at 1,000 miles per hour
at the equator.
At the equator.
At the North Pole, would be spinning 0.
That's correct.
1,038 mile an hour at the equator.
Yep.
Allowing it to turn once a day.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I think convinces a lot of people, because the math adds up. If you look at how much the Earth travels at the equator, it's going to be 1,000 miles further away from where it was before. But the problem is when you measure that kind of distance, you're measuring miles per hour, which is the measure of change of distance divided by time. But when you're measuring the speed of a spinning object, you have to measure the change of angle divided by time. Mm-hmm. So when you do that, you run into a calculation, and it comes out to 0.03.
Minutes or seconds?
0.03 meters per second is what you run into. That is how fast the angle spins.
Right.
And so there's a guy named 5 Red Pears on YouTube who did a great video on this, and I'll share the link at the end. And so he did it and ran the equation for a 3-meter, say, merry-go-round, and on that merry, you do 3 meters or 0.03 meters per second, which is what the Earth would be spinning. The 3-meter merry-go-round would be spinning at 120, or 1 revolution every 120 seconds, which is, every 2 minutes the merry-go-round goes around once, and that's the equivalent of the Earth spinning. Now, the speed that the merry-go-round is moving on the outside, if you were to use the linear equation, is a lot more, or sounds a lot more, but it's still not. But the math works the exact same way. versus the size, just to give you the same with like the 8-foot spinning ball, is it would be spinning once every 2 minutes, is our 8-foot ball. That leads us to why I believe the Earth is a sphere. And again, I'm just going to give the 4 basic arguments that I'm going to use to show that that prove to me that the Earth is a sphere. These are just the rundown. The horizon and the videos and horizon pictures that I've taken fit all mathematical predictions. So given the distance squared times 8 divided by 12, given that formula, we run and do the I take the pictures and then I go and do the mathematical equations, and I get the same results of what my predictions would be
For a curved Earth.
for curvature on the Earth. Yes, sir. For 25,000 miles circumference Earth. The stars, the South Pacific travel, and observation phenomena that do not fit the flat Earth model do fit the globe Earth model. So for the first one, the videos and horizons fit all mathematical predictions. This was the first one I did, and the first video that I did on my YouTube channel, where it was just by surprise. I went out to the lake, to the bay out here at Fort Pickens, and I took a picture of this buoy, and I'm probably a little less than 2 miles away, and I was just laying right on the beach line, and I took a picture of this first buoy. Well, it was actually a video of this first buoy, and then I moved my camera up 16 inches.
Just straight up 16 inches.
Yeah, I moved over to the left a little bit because there was a rock, but I was still the same distance away from the buoy. I moved over about 5 or 6 feet and then went up about 16 inches, and I was able to see more of the buoy than I was before. And this buoy had this huge rust stain on the bottom that I did not know was there.
Let me zoom in here and we can see that. Okay.
Yeah, so it had this huge rust difference, and all I did was move up 16 inches. And on the video, I did a video 2 weeks after I posted the original video, just kind of dissecting the video, and found some really interesting things that really only fit the spherical Earth model. It does not fit the flat Earth model at all. There's no reason why moving up 16 inches should give me more.
And watch this.
And I think that this was probably the first.
Watch this, and then somebody come along, and they can say, "Oh, eat for the devil horn." Listen, that is so dumb. You don't judge by simply a hand sign. You judge by the fruit of the hand sign, as in, if they teach devil doctrine, and they pull up devil hand signs, likely they are of the devil, understand? You can be an heir and be of God. But like I did, I came out of it. Alright?
Experiment that in my head was, okay, there's curvature.
People that judge by these hand signs all the time, I do judge by hand signs. I have to judge. It depends. Like, if I see an entertainer doing it, yeah, he's of the devil. You know. But because like 9 times out of 10, your entertainers all of the devil. So, but Jesus did say, "Judge not according to appearance," well, that's what you guys are doing by the hand signs. But judge righteous judgment. Judge by the fruit, judge by the action, judge by the words. So you guys need to stop the judge by the hand signs. That's not biblical. You're disobeying Jesus. Once again, it's John. Go read it. If you judge by the hand sign, I see all these flat earthers, all these people that take the Illuminati too far, as in they focus the whole ministry on it. I've seen people, they judge by the hand signs. That's not biblical. Jesus said in John chapter 7 verse 24, he said, "Judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment." So you're gonna say no to Jesus? Go right ahead.
Because there's no other way to explain it if the Earth was a flat plate.
Even the buildings behind it
Yeah.
appears to be.
That's another thing that I was going to point out is that even the buildings. I mean, if it's probably going to be a little hard to see on there, but if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll
What
see
is your
that
YouTube?
it's just my first and last name. Now my parents cursed me with a difficult name to spell. It's Edrique, and the last name is Visser. That's V as in Victor. So if you just type it on YouTube, you'll run into my channel. And then I have most of my videos are pretty short. I try to stay under 10 minutes just to make them short and very concise. And this is where it really got interesting. Now
People go say what you're using Ken Hovind. I understand what Ken Hovind has done and said. I understand what he has said. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. Well, I'm not gonna help him. I'm gonna help talk about something with him tomorrow. If that comes up, then it comes up. But I understand. It doesn't discredit him, guys. It raised a red flag biblically, but you clearly see if you look at Ken Hovind, don't think he's just a devil. You know, look at him. Look at the love of God in him. Like seriously. Now you know me? Most professing Christians are going on the way to hell. But seriously, guys, you can be an Aaron me. But I'm gonna talk to him. Hopefully, let's see what happens. Pray for him. But, I'm talking to no.
It's probably really hard to see on here. But what I did was I went out to Fort Pickens again, try to find a nice clear day, and I'm looking at a water tower that's about 110 feet tall. It's called Pensacola Water Tower, and it is. I'm about 8 inches above the water. I literally was laying in the water, and took a video of this water tower, and then just to show you kind of where I'm looking, I'm sitting here on the water line, and I was looking here 9.5 miles away, and this was what I saw right here, was just that beach ball. But something interesting that
Go back and point out that beach ball again. You're talking about the one, the big water tower on the beach.
Yeah, the big water tower right here on the beach.
Right, which has got the painted like a basket or like a basketball.
It's a beach ball.
Beach ball with Pepsi on it or something.
Pensacola.
Pensacola, okay.
Pensacola Beach. Yeah. So.
And you can see part of the base of part of the tower holding it up.
Yeah. Yeah. You see the bottom part of the tower, and then you see the beach ball at the top.
Right. That's from 9 miles away.
9.5 miles away.
Okay.
Oops, I went the wrong way. But one thing is I noticed that here there's some land, and when I first drew this up, I didn't realize what I was seeing until I first came and looked at it from Google Maps. But there's this land right here, and so right here I zoomed in on the land of where I'm looking over. So right here at about 8 miles, you see these two big houses right here. And then,
you know what? This flat Earth thing has done too much division in the body. They would say you're going to hell or something. They would listen. People out there that would like say you're going to hell, you're not saved, or you like call people of the devil because listen, there's people out there on YouTube. This flat Earth thing, if you call someone of the devil because they don't believe the Earth is flat, they're not teaching it on YouTube. It's a big. They do that. They call you of the devil. You don't believe it's flat, basically. Well, maybe it's not because of that in their mind, but the way they're associating it is like if you don't believe the Earth is flat, if you're teaching around Earth, they basically say you're deceived or say you're the devil. Of course they think you're deceived if they think it's true. But I was into the flat Earth, okay? It's not flat. No, is it? But it's not. And how into it I was, and how much evidence it's not. I'm teaching you guys the truth, guys. You're using it. You guys are causing them, like, stop giving atheists room to. I understand a lot of stuff I teach, they would mock, and they would mock the history. I would say, I understand that, but this final thing is ridiculous.
And then again, I zoomed in on these houses, and I've got a 3-story building and a 2-story building, and that's about 7 or 8 miles away. And then the beach ball is another mile. And what I found interesting is when I go back to this, you don't see the 3-story building. So exactly. Now, when I first saw this was the thing that I was like, okay, I've got no other explanation except for curvature. And then when I went and did one of my friends did the calculations to it, at 7 miles, at the height I was, it should be about 35 feet to 40 feet of curvature at that 7-mile point, which would be exactly. It's a 3-story house. So when we first saw this, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. Based on predictions, and this was the one that really made me think, okay, without a doubt, there's curvature, right, at least in Pensacola. And so the next the next picture is me moving up about 20 feet. And 20 feet up in the air. 20 feet straight up. I was laying right next to this pylon in the water, and I moved up right on top of the pier and put my telescope right on the pylon, and this is what I saw. And it's actually interesting, when I moved up, I don't think that these are the buildings on the first part of the buildings, that 3-story building. These are actually a 5-story condo building that's right by the tower. So I want to.
And real quickly, what the Bible verses they use? How the earth has pillars. The pillars of the earth. Yeah, the earth has rulers. It has powers that have influence over the earth. It has God's hand on the earth that has control over the earth. Yeah, Satan's a god of this world, I understand that. How about when it says the earth moves not? Something like that. Imagine how oh no, it didn't say that. It says something about when I was saying, like, the earth is immovable, the earth cannot be shaken from an outside force in which God doesn't allow. The people, nothing can shake the earth. God holds on nothing. It can't be moved. It can't be taken out of its existence because God controls its existence. Not saying it doesn't move. And how about the 4 corners of the earth? 4 corners of the earth, the Gentiles and all that on the 4 corners of the earth, they are like in a ball. You got one part, so it's parts of the earth holding other nations. They're spread out at the 4 corners, 4 ends are parts or nations of this. It's not. Don't misinterpret it. Well, how about they had the guy took a trip in Antarctica or something, and this woman took a trip and she was killed or something, and because she found something in, like, Antarctica. Well, because she found some fallen angels or something like that, some demons working there. There's other answers for that. But you assume that she actually found Flat Earth. Do you actually know that? What if she found some technology that they're using to control things in the earth? You know, they have project. They have Hawk. They influence the weather and so on. So don't assume that she got killed because she found Flat Earth. She could have found technology. She could have found stuff they use into bring in the end times and to create illusions and so on. You get it. So I'll be right back, guys. Hold on. Let me. And yeah, NASA has lied to us about aliens, or at least those. Hasn't NASA brought out the alien thing? So yeah, NASA or space organizations or science, so-called, has lied to us about things. Maybe there's more to the Earth, but I deny it's flat. Give me a second, guys. I gotta turn my dog out. Okay, I'm back, guys. Okay.
Go, and I'll make the prediction now that if I take our big 25-foot ladder that we have out there and take that and stick it on the pier and stand on top of that, then I'll be able to see the buildings. And I want to run the math to where I would be able to see the beach line and see if I could see the beach line moving up in 25 feet.
Okay, so it's a little fuzzy here, but at 9 miles away. At
Yeah.
the base of the water tower, you can see these houses. Now back up a slide and you'll see they disappeared.
Well, I've got this
Okay.
one right here that has them two together, which
So why can't you see the houses here? Because the Earth is curved.
now my thing is I want someone who is a flat Earth proponent to explain to me why I am not seeing the houses here. Why am I only seeing the tower? There is nothing should be stopping me from seeing the houses here if the Earth is flat. Nothing. There's no explanation for it. The only explanation that I could possibly see that they come up with is perspective, which to me is
A cop-out, a way to not answer.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I don't think you're looking at it critically, because if a thing's a flat plane, it will rise to the eye level, but only with it getting smaller and smaller. There's nothing in perspective that means it's going to keep going and start blocking things out.
Right.
It's all on a flat plane. It is only going to stay flat, and things are going to get smaller and smaller and rise to the eye level. And I think what they're doing is they're seeing this and thinking, okay, therefore it explains perspective moving up. But there's nothing in geometry that says perspective will go up and continue going up and blocking things in the background. That's just simply incorrect. So this was the one that persuaded me. I was very happy with the results of it. I do want to go back out and raise up 25 feet and see if I can see the houses, the 3-story house, and be able to make it out. I think it'd be very interesting, and I can't wait to go out and do it.
You could calculate your angle you'd have to be to see the base of the house.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Probably 30, 40 feet.
Yeah, I think one of my really good friends, Lance, has really been a great help in this. He's going to do the math for me and let me know exactly where I need to be or how high I would need to be able to see that if the curvature formula works.
Okay.
And then I'll post that results on my YouTube channel whenever we get it done. The second one that I feel should be very convincing for anybody looking at the flat Earth model compared to the sphere Earth model is that the Polaris and the Southern Cross, meaning Polaris spins the northern hemisphere, the stars spin a different direction than they do in the southern hemisphere, and which to me, and I think even to the flat earthers, they'll admit that model fits perfectly. The stars spinning one direction and a different direction in the south. It works great. And then as well as you can only see the Polaris from the northern hemisphere and you can only see the Southern Cross from the southern hemisphere, which again fits the ball Earth model.
So, but that is an important point. If the Earth is a ball, which I firmly believe it is, we have straight above the North Pole a North Star.
Correct.
You should never be able to see that from south of the equator.
That's correct.
And people south of the equator cannot see it.
That's correct.
I've been to Australia, the only place south of the equator I've been, and you cannot see the North Star. Why not?
Yeah, but you do see the Southern Cross. You can't see the Southern Cross from the northern
Right. So, yes, okay, go ahead.
So, and
5 minutes and we'll take this is a 30-minute segment.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have seen a couple of explanations for it. One guy used a dome and laid his GoPro down and bounced it, had a spinning disc on the top with the northern hemisphere, and then had it bouncing off 2 mirrors showing another spinning part being the southern hemisphere, and it was bouncing off 2 mirrors trying to explain it. But the problem that he had was that if you were to move the camera forwards and backwards, you would start seeing an overlap because it's only one spinning disc and it's moving off the mirrors, and that's not the observation that we see when we're at the equator. We can only see, at a specific angle, and that just wouldn't work on his model. And then also, it really surprised me that a conversation that I had with Mark Sargent, his explanation for it was, we don't know. I hope I'm not quoting him wrong, but he said something along the lines of God created it, and, we don't know how extravagant of a place we live in.
Well, sometimes the argument we don't know God just made it is a legitimate argument.
It is.
But like, what is gravity?
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Sure, what it does. We don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but they're trying to defend something that I think is indefensible.
Yeah, and unnecessary. And I think also when you
The hand
have
of God in
a,
creation keeping us not from floating.
observation that you can study, test, and demonstrate over and over and over again, and you don't need an imagination to believe it. I think when you have an explanation like that, being the northern and southern hemisphere and observing the stars, you have to take a serious look at that observation and see if it makes a lot more sense than just saying, we live in an extravagant world.
Okay. All right, one more.
So this was another one, and I've had some really funky responses on my YouTube channel on it, and that's South Pacific travel. I called Polar Cruises up. Polar Cruises is a place where they'll take you on a boat on a big icebreaker, and they'll take you to the Antarctica, and they'll take you to the North Pole and the South Pole. And so I called them up and said, hey, I was wondering, can I hop on a boat, and can you take me from New Zealand to South America? Which would be
New Zealand?
Yep. New Zealand right here, and then all the way to Antarctica. And they said yes. And what we will do is we will travel down here, travel all the way along the coast, and then drive up to, or boat up to New Zealand. And so I looked. You can watch my YouTube video. I looked up the boat, looked up how fast it went. It went 14 knots, which is about, 12 knots, which is about 14 to 15 miles an hour. And the trip takes 33 days. One of them takes 31, the other one takes 33. And what it is, the boat goes from Argentina, leaves, goes to New Zealand a couple weeks back.
No, I'm showing a video.
Later, it turns around and goes back the other way. And the boat only goes 14 knots, full speed, which in 30 days on the flat Earth model, it's just impossible to do at that speed, especially if you're having to dodge icebergs or whatever.
I'm indoctrinated. I was in flat Earth. How am I indoctrinated? How one who's seen the videos. How am I? Listen, the one that's seen the video with it looks like it's flat. How am I indoctrinated? How one that would defend the flat Earth how am I indoctrinated? It's the truth. There was dinosaurs. The evidence backs up. The dinosaur evidence backs up the young Earth.
Hey.
So there's no reason, biblical reason, why I should call dinosaur bones demon. Why there's no biblical reason why I should call dinosaur bones demon-made, which is how you can get around the dinosaur bones. And it's kind of stupid, the fact that it proves the Bible. Okay? My mother. That's my mother. Keep watching.
Because they would have the Earth flattened out, and Antarctica would go completely around the world.
Exactly.
It'd be, how big would Antarctica? How long would the coastline be on that?
Circumference is 78,000 miles of the flat Earth map, is what they would say.
Okay.
And that's due to their calculations from
raw, just plain raw.
Yeah. And so you can hear the phone call where I was just like, hey, can I book it? Is that thing, can I really do that? And she said yes. And so I went on their website and just took a screenshot of this. And this is where you would be traveling. Leaving Argentina, traveling along here.
NASA does lie. I know that. I know about I know about the Project Paperclip, the Nazis. I know about all that, guys. I know that NASA lies, but to say NASA lies about it's dumb. school books lie. Does it mean they lie about anything? Is 2 plus 2 not 4? Come on, the school don't lie about everything. Come on, they don't lie about anything. They lie about most things, especially almost like all your things or whatever in history. They do lie. But come on, they don't lie about anything. They do lie, so don't use all the NASA lies with lie about anything. Come on, quit. That's a fallacy. Oh, that's stupid, I should say.
And ending up in New Zealand.
I don't care if the images are cartoons. What? Just because the images are fake means the Earth is flat? No. What if the images are fake and the Earth is not flat but it's something else, in which we don't know for sure? No, it doesn't. That isn't circle reasoning. Oh, this the Earth, the pictures are fake, thus the Earth is flat. A more reasonable person would say the pictures are fake, so the Earth is something else. But it's automatically flat. It's stupid. No, I'm not brainwashed. The definition of brainwashed is not what you're using. The definition of brainwash is, if you look it up in the dictionary, forcible, is it like mind control? Forcible indoctrination. So water can't stay level on a non-flat Earth model. That's not true.
Which in 30 days is just, you just can't do it.
On a flat Earth model.
On a flat Earth model. Now, you can do it very easily on a ball Earth model because you're only traveling 4,000 or 5,000 miles.
Because in their thinking, you flatten out the Earth, and from Argentina to New Zealand would be
it'd be about 25,000 miles.
25,000 miles. So at 1,400 miles an hour, 14
miles an hour, you'd be
there time travel. A long time. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back with more second program on the flat Earth. If you believe the Earth is flat, I'm sorry. I appreciate your desire to defend what you think is a Bible teaching, but you're wrong. The Earth is a ball, and it spins. So I'm sorry. Thank you for your zeal. Now, but it's not according to knowledge, and you're fighting a battle that is unnecessary, and you're fighting on the wrong hill. Don't die on that hill. Evolution, creation, that's a hill worth dying on, but not the flat Earth stuff. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back after lunch and have the second session. Hello, folks. Welcome to part 2 of our study on what on earth is the shape of the Earth. Edric, they've been asking what happened to your neck. You almost hung yourself.
Yeah, I was going on a four-wheeler, going pretty fast, and went through some dense woods and got one of those thorny branches, and
I understand.
Yeah.
We were actually looking over the property we're praying about getting on the four-wheeler, so it was sacrifice for the cause.
It was. Well,
Yep.
I mean, my other injuries, I broke my phone a couple days ago.
Your finger.
My finger. A couple days ago. I've got scabs, bumps, and bruises. I have a hard time walking sometimes.
Yep. Anyway, the property looks like God's will, so pray we get that. We're real close to being able to. We put in an offer, actually, so pray we get that. Anyway, and it's on a small piece of the round Earth. Okay, you left off talking about Antarctica. Globe Earth model, Antarctica's down here. On the flat Earth model, this is spread out huge, covering the circumference of the entire imaginary flat Earth. So to sail from here, the tip of South America, to, say, New Zealand, over here, would be, relatively short distance. See, straight line would be maybe, I'm going to guess here.
Oh, since my phone... I could put this video in with this video. What should I do? I can always do this, huh?
Oh, 4,000 miles?
It's 4.5 to 5,000 miles
Okay.
along the coast.
Well, go ahead. Take it off. Brother.
All right, so
What's the proof?
we just got this slide back up here, and I'm looking at some of the comments, and nobody has addressed this one. And even in my previous video, nobody can explain to me why you're able to sail that, because with a boat, you should not be able to do it in 30 days. And
So you're saying cruise ships going 14 knots or 12 knots, they sail from Antarctica, stop in Antarctica, sail from South America, stop in Antarctica.
yeah, go over here to the Ross Sea. This is called the Ross Sea right here, and they spend a couple days in there looking at the penguins and whatever you look at when you go.
Ice.
Yeah, ice.
Lots of ice.
And the average cruise ship that travels between between America and Europe travels at about 27 knots, which is 34, 33 miles an hour.
Okay.
So they travel quite a bit faster, but they're also they're not designed. They're designed to move as fast as possible, and the ships down south are designed to go slow because they have to break through the ice. And they're not made to go fast.
They're heavier duty. You have to be.
Yeah.
Right. If you hit an iceberg at 27 miles an hour, well, the Titanic showed us what would happen. don't hit an iceberg. So you're saying to go from America to Europe, which is about the same distance.
Yeah. They do it in 4 to 7 days, depending on which ship is doing it. 4 to 7 days, and that is with a ship that goes twice as fast as the ships that travel in the Antarctic.
I'm gonna keep this right by my desk, since the whole time I've been home from prison, I get lots of annoying calls. They're saying, "Stop! No, don't stop! I want them to hurry. Get me out of there!" Right? All right, go ahead.
There's one comment that I wanted to respond on. One person said that you have to take it. You also the spin of the Earth around the sun that travels at 66,000 miles per hour, and then also the speed of our galaxy moving at some huge number. And again, he is using linear equations to measure distance instead of the angular changes. So you'd run into the same thing. Now, if the rotation of the Earth around the sun was smaller, then yes, it could cause problems, and it was still traveling the same angular speed around the sun, then that would cause a problem. But since it's so large that it does not create that same problem that you would have with centrifugal force spinning around the sun.
Okay, go ahead.
And the last thing, I had a couple people ask me what equipment that I use. It is this right here. It's a spotting scope that I used whenever I lived in Texas, and use it all the time out there. And then also a GoPro or a cell phone, whatever was handy when I needed to take the picture of the video.
Okay.
So we'll go back to my 4 arguments. This one's really just a collection of different arguments from observations that fit the flat Earth model but do not fit the globe Earth model but do not fit flat Earth model. The first one's gravity. There's been lots of experiments done on gravity to show that its mass attracts things, and I'll address one of them later here in the presentation. And then also the explanation from the flat Earth is there's the electromagnetism from the Earth creates gravity, but then you run into a problem because if it's...
Wait, what? And the argument is that flat Earth, that gravity was created by Freemasons. That's even if that was so, Math is said to come about by Pythagoras and the cultists. So does it make math not true? No, the symbols are occultic. Okay, the symbols are witchcraft symbols. The you know, but math is truth to it. Gravity. Let's see. Yeah, when evolution found evolution is paganism. It was said to be held by Freemasonry. It wasn't founded by it.
It's a flat disk, and the electromagnetism is anywhere underneath that disk. The center of that disk is going to have an extreme amount of pull to it compared to where you are on the outside. You're going to have to feel like you're moving twice as hard as you're on the outside. And that's not taking the outdoors. And the other one is density, where they say, like, they just use the atmosphere.
I'm just gonna end this, and I'll come back later. Be blessed in the name of Jesus Christ. Bye.